a $4 million debt rather than a perpetual royalty. So, and those were both, the latter two, the Calpella site and the Nice site, were done by unanimous motion of my board that we not pursue the Nice site and that we work with Roland on the Calpella site. Any questions?
Supervisor Dilbart to the speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it was a unanimous vote of the board.
That is correct.
Has there been, and a question for both you, Mr. Killer and Roland, have there been more than just brief discussions with the landowner in terms of what the terms of this project might be? Have there been more in-depth negotiations?
We have not taken it beyond his, and Mr. Bill Neese is here, we have not taken it beyond his initial offer, but I have indicated that with his initial offer here that it just was that we had more reasonable options.
Because obviously this project really only benefits Redwood Valley.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
if Redwood Valley District's not interested in this, it really makes it difficult for us to do something else up here with it. What other options is Redwood Valley pursuing?
We've identified a couple of vineyard properties that we're contacting the owners on, and that both of those would be purchases rather than some sort of royalty arrangement. We're uncomfortable building infrastructure to the tune of some millions of dollars and then essentially being held hostage to future negotiations for a new price. So we insist that if we build a reservoir site, we need to purchase the site.
And what's your timelines on those discussions? I mean, those have been going on for how long?
Well, we've actually had a few significant changes. The passage of the federal public law that allows us to suborn our debt is the most significant. The $7.2 million that we owe the Bureau of Reclamation has been essentially put on hold with no penalties and no interest until such a time as we are able to seek other funding. This has just happened. I am meeting with two board members, the State Water Board, tomorrow to have discussions with them regarding some hope of getting a definition of groundwater that we can use versus underflow. So I think we're making reasonable progress. We've certainly applied for all grants and loans out there. So I don't have a specific timeline, but I think these two issues are very significant, that we have suborned the debt and are proceeding to meet with the state board.
When did the district go into moratorium?
Excuse me?
When did the district go into moratorium?
1989.
Unless, again, Mr. Chairman, I don't know what your timing is, but I know Mr. Neese is here, and I'm sure he'll have some comments at some point.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. To Supervisor Smith then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shifting gears here a bit to the sort of more of the overview. Mr. Sanford, do you believe that any of these projects will reasonably result in the obtainment of water?
Yes,
And you prioritize them?
that's correct.
And why do you think that they're feasible? I mean, starting with, let's go with your project number one.
Basically, they are feasible from a perspective that you can physically build the facility without it collapsing or failing. So you can physically do it. At least at a preliminary level, it looks like you can get the environmental permits to do it. And then third, when you look at options for obtaining new water supplies, they are certainly in the going price for new storage. New storage, depending exactly how it's created, is typically costing anywhere from 1,000 to not 1,000, but say $1,500 to $3,000 an acre foot. So that's kind of the going price now. Just like, unfortunately, it costs a lot more money for a house nowadays than it did 40 years ago. So the projects are buildable, at least structurally and from an engineering perspective, are promising in terms of environmental permitting, and fall into this. Okay, this is the going rate for storage.
So I have a number of concerns, but the underlying one is sort of the approach that we're using to look for water, I guess. And obviously, Mendocino has been in a very disadvantaged position along these lines, as we all know, for decades. And it just feels a little bit to me like we're out there sort of grabbing at things, trying to figure out where we can be successful, but are we really being smart in the way we're doing it and how we're trying to ascertain who our partners are? Now, I have on my notes, I believe, on your Scout Lake project, you said, well, who is going to benefit? And you did give that analysis at the conclusion of each of these, verbally at least. The Boy Scouts would benefit, the Willits area would benefit, and perhaps Redwood Valley would benefit. So it sort of, to me, begs the question of what are we doing with the public's money? And what I don't see here, which is what I would like to see, is you do have the cost-benefit analysis in very rough terms with respect to the feasibility costs, the cost per acre foot, but we're not talking here about the partnerships. And so one of my questions to you is, in other words, the county is seen as the one that's going to step up and sort of play the game, play the odds. We already have, in sense of thousands already invested in the